been lit, boy. Everything goes.
We now return you to regular programming.
What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Everything Goes podcast with your host, TAK, where new rules in MLB spring training have taken the center stage. Not all glory, that's all good for God. All copyright, all I can't think of the word. That's all Ace. And that came right from Ace's mouth for me to say.
Copyright for me. We're
going to dive into that. Tommy Fury gives Jake Paul his first loss as a boxer, which there was a lot on the line for Tommy Fury, not a lot on the line for Jake, because just no matter what happens, he's still a winner. Carson Wentz gets cut as $26 million is saved in cap as casualties continue to happen throughout this week as we get closer to the combine. This week starts this week. I think Thursday it starts. And as we get closer to free agency, there's just a lot to talk about. Tatis Jr. is already hitting home runs back at BP. A lot of talk to talk about today. I can't find the words to talk today for some reason. The spring training started. Baseball's back, guys. I'm happy we're doing this. How you guys doing?
Good.
It's Monday.
It's Monday. I can't speak for some reason.
Our reactions sound like a Monday. Good. It's a Monday.
Let's just dive into it, because we were starting to really talk a lot about this before the podcast started, and I feel like we were getting all of our opinions out of it right away. But obviously, spring training has come with some new rules. One of the newest rules being the whole clock for the pitchers and the batters, and we saw a great example of this with the Braves versus who was it? I have it written down somewhere. It was the Red Sox and the Braves. Bases loaded for the Braves. The guy in the batter's box, his name is Cal Conley. He took too long to get into the box, which is a strike. He already had his 2 strikes, so that is a strikeout. Game ends in a tie.
Where was he going? Did he think they were calling ball 4?
I think he called. I think in
that.
his mind, I think he thought the umpire was calling the clock violation on the pitcher, and he was all happy. But really, it was on him. See, I wonder if there's going to be. I haven't watched the spring training game yet. Where I wonder if there's 2 clocks on the fence or something. One is for the batters, one is for the pitchers. Like maybe there's one at home plate for the pitchers and one on the fence for the batters.
There's one behind the umpire, because I saw in the highlight that it showed that there was one for the pitchers to see. I don't know if there's actually one for the batter. I guess he has to know he's got to get in the box.
So going to the Saints game last year, AAA, they had one out kind of like in left center o'clock.
Yeah, that was that's actually kind of smart.
Yeah, and then they did have one behind the plate, just off, like it was in the camera view. I think the back center cam for the telecast.
Now, before I get your opinions, just 2 things I want to say. Number one, actually 3 things I want to say. Number one, like you said, Dad, huge congrats to the umpire for actually having the balls to say that, because you think if he doesn't practice that now, what happens in the playoffs if it's the batter is way over his violation, and then you'd let him step into the box. He hits a home run or hits the game-winning walk-off hit. But also, 2 guys have begun to talk about this, and it's cool to see players talking about Aaron Judge being one of them. He's only had about 1 at-bat in spring training so far, but he says he supports it. It's going to be a good thing for everybody. He loves it. Scherzer has come out from the Mets, and he says that pitchers have power now, and he says, I love it. I can dictate my pace. So, like you said, Dad, coming on this podcast before we recorded, 2022 spring training games lasted an average of 3 hours. So far, this first week of spring training, games are down to 2 hours and 39 minutes. So it definitely is making a difference, and it definitely is speeding up the game. But what do you guys think of it? Do you guys love it?
They shaved 23 minutes off. They shaved 23 minutes off the games. I think it's great. I think the MLB is going in the right direction, especially when it, like with the rule where you couldn't pitch to one batter and then be changed. Now you have to face at least 3 freaking batters.
Yeah,
I mean that speeds the game up. I think
innings.
This clock is. The extra innings, no more shifts. I think baseball's back,
bigger.
baby.
I like that. Yeah.
So the with the pitch clock, it's 15 seconds with nobody on base. I think when a runner gets to first or like whatever other situation after that, it's 20 seconds.
It's like different
to throw. So it's 15 and 20, I believe. I just don't know if it's like 20 for every situation that there's a runner on base or not. But
there's a lot of critics too who are saying offense could be up this year because pitchers don't have that 30 to a minute to kind of think about what they want to throw, and batters are just in there to swing and hit. And I think this also as a coach, I think you pull that guy aside and say, I don't know why. Like, I'm not saying this is what he did, but you can't be upset. Get in the box, do your thing. You know, there's a new rule change. You got bases loaded, 2 outs. Like, let's go. You need to be ready. And I think that's a lesson that will show to every coach. Like, all right, hey, you saw that. That was bases loaded, and you know these umpires are going to call it. So now you need to train your mind to be ready to get in that box.
I think there's one more thing they got to do. One more rule they got to do. I think they got to push the mound back 2 feet.
Really? I don't know about that one.
I just think because the average pitcher now is throwing high 90s. And I still think they still have the advantage because look at most of these pitchers are 6'3" or bigger. You know, their release point now is closer to the plate. They're throwing faster than ever before. You see more guys throwing into the triple digits late in the games now. I think they should just move it back a foot or so, like Ace said, or lower the mound a little bit. You know, just to make it a little bit more competitive.
I'd rather lower the mound. I feel like if you move the mound back, like I feel like that's like cutting out the old school baseball.
I don't know.
You know? I don't know.
That's a
I feel weird. I
just
feel weird about that.
Yeah,
baseball's advancing. I mean, you never saw pitchers 6 foot plus throwing over 100 miles an hour like this. I mean, you see guys throwing 105 now.
I do like Goez.
Well, I'm at the point too where I just want to, like, as a Twins fan, and I should be a Guardians fan. Let's be honest. I made a bet and whatever, but as a Twins fan, I just want a good product on the field too. Like these rule changes are great, but as long as if the team doesn't care, or if they're still 500, it's like, I don't want to pay money to watch this at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I do agree that some of these rule changes have been good. I think the extra runner on second during extra innings, not a lot of people like that at first. I think that's been something very cool. Helps the extra innings go faster. You're not going to 16, 17 extra innings. I think the first base being bigger will be huge. You won't have as many injuries. I like the whole change of the pace. I still don't know how I would feel about the whole robot umpire. That part, I still don't. I don't like you taking out the human nature of the game. I think that there's always going to be missed calls or great calls. I like that aspect of the game. I don't know how I feel about that yet, but this is something that's interesting, and I like it so far. And I like how players are speaking up for it.
I want to ask you guys something. That game, it was a 3-2 count with 2 outs with bases loaded. If that's Game 7 of the World Series, does that umpire make that call? Does that umpire make that call?
Was it like the quarterback snap? You know how the quarterback snap, they give him like the 0 because what are the refs
yeah.
Is it like that would be absolutely.
So I think if he makes that call, you have people banning that rule. I want that rule done. That rule's stupid. You blew the game. You blew the World Series. I think if he doesn't blow that call, the other team's like, what happened to the rule? Like, what happened to MLB being so... Like, I don't think that's a win-win situation for anybody.
You know what's going to happen? You're going to have umpires getting ejecting players and ejecting coaches. You're going to have guys coming out saying, you didn't reset the clock. You didn't reset it.
Yeah, this could bring more
it's going to be interesting.
I think I saw something that... I don't know if it's every batter or they have one timeout. I don't know if that's in a game or like to get a little bit extra time, but I do agree that I could see players getting ejected this year. Like if the umpire calls a strike and they like are chirping at the umpire, like, no, like you're not giving me enough time. And next, you're out of here.
You know, the nice thing is
people get petty quick.
Yes, real quick. An 18-run game only won 2 hours and 58 minutes. The lowest scoring game, I don't know if you said this on a tie, was 2 hours and 7 minutes. Are you guys paying over $100 for a ticket to go to a 2-hour game?
I think so, right? 2 hours is a pretty long game in baseball, especially if you said it's a high scoring game. Was 2 hours or something?
2 hours and 58 minutes for 18 runs.
Like if it's 18 runs, like that's an exciting game. I mean, you're still getting your money's worth as if you were doing a 3-hour game. It's quicker. You're still getting the excitement. I'm not there as long. I feel like when I'm sitting there long, I'm kind of getting bored. And I love baseball. I think this could be good for baseball's numbers. I think fans will see all these rule changes. Like you're seeing more people talk about this, like the Pat McAfee show. They're talking more about this. People you don't typically see talk about baseball. A lot of people are liking this. And the shift this year, I'm so excited to see how that works out. Like I think that this can revive people's careers. Or they're just so used to the shift that they're going to just continue to struggle.
I think the Astros and the Guardians should win the divisions because they got the players, like they just put the ball in play. They got the players to be good with this. In that, the Alvarez lefty dude is a huge pull hitter for the Astros. Well, Twins got a couple pull hitters now too, but I think the rule changes in general benefit the Guardians, the Astros a lot, maybe the Marlins. They seem like a smaller, quicker team.
It's going to benefit Joey Gallo.
Oh yeah.
Well, you think about
Oh, yeah,
guys that
players, for
you think
sure,
about
him
guys that
and-
are done playing baseball that got cut, and they're like, "Oh, now you come out with that, Dad." Do you think it's worth $100? Like, do you think like if you paid $100 for a playoff game or
Ooh.
even
You know
good
what's
seats
funny?
in a baseball game?
Yes. Playoffs,
Could you
yes.
imagine though if somebody gets a no hitter, you're probably talking about an hour and 50-minute game.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you
Yeah.
and look at here's a stat right here. I mean, in 2021, the average time of a game was 3 hours 11 minutes. Last season, it was 3 hours and 6 minutes. There hasn't been a game under 3 hours in a decade. So I think it's going to improve the games. I think depending on the circumstances, I would pay the money.
But I think it's good
you don't know
too.
going in. You know, like a movie. Okay, I don't want to spend more than this for a movie, but you don't know when this is going to end.
I think it's good too to watch because, like, I remember days where like we'd turn on the Yankees game and then we'd go to the grocery store or a couple of stores and you come back and only one inning has passed. Like I think it would be nice to turn on a Yankees game on a Sunday afternoon and it's only 2 hours long. I don't feel like it's a 5-hour game.
Yes.
You know what's great out here? Yankees come on at 5:07.
Must be nice. I mean, but basically, it's not football. It's not football.
Yes.
It's not football. Like it's different every game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not this. Well, but the latest it would be what? Maybe 8, if that.
Yeah,
No,
if they
7?
played Sunday night baseball is usually 8:00 game on the East Coast. It'd be 6:00 my time.
The only advantage you have over
Oh.
me, because I love an 8:00 game, is when they play on the West Coast and it's like an 11:00 start my time. Like that's ridiculous. Like it's definitely going to be beneficial to you. Hey, let's
dive into our teams quick.
Yeah, I want to dive into something real quick. Is you would think that in the Padres news, Tatis Jr. being back and making his DH start this week would be the biggest news, but obviously Manny Machado signed a $350 million 11-year extension is huge in the Padre headlines as they just continue to pour out money as they got Bogarts this offseason. They've extended many others. They got Soto last year at the trade deadline. Like there's just a lot of talent on that team, a lot of people that they have been able to acquire. What's interesting about Manny Machado's deal is obviously he told them that there's a deadline that before he opts out. He signed this deal in 2019. It was $300 million already. And so coming up to this year, he had an opt out. He could opt out this year in the next couple of years because he still had 6 years left on his contract. That's what kind of like maybe like read that 3 times. The man still had 6 years left on his contract, but I think they were all opt out years. Like if he wanted to opt out, he could. So like what I was thinking is like what makes you think, like what processes in your brain? And I want to ask you guys this, like, what are you thinking if you're Manny Machado that you're like, you know what, like I want to opt out and sign an even bigger extension. Do you think it's job security? Because in this new contract he signed, there's no opt outs and it's a full no trade clause. He has come out multiple times and talked about how he loves San Diego. Like that's the place he wants to be. He loves playing on the Padres. So that's the only thing I can think of is in these opt-out years, like maybe they opted out from him. Like this is a full, like secure, but 11 years, like that's a long time.
The problem is the power is all in the player's hands anymore with these deals. You know what I mean? The Padres came out, Bob Nightingale reported last week, they offered him a 5-year, $105 million extension. He said no to that right away. He countered and said, I want a 10-year, $400 million contract beginning in 2024, he said. And in a scenario like that, they had no choice because he drew the line in the sand. And he said, if you don't meet me where I want to be, I'll be a free agent next year and somebody will pay me. I mean, the guy was 30 years old. He's a 6-time All-Star, 2-time Gold Glove winner. He hit .298 last year with 32 home runs, 102 RBIs, and 100 runs scored. The guy, he was the second place for MVP. There's no salary cap in baseball.
I know there's no salary cap, but how does an owner justify? Because the Padres are technically a small market, so are they even like? Yeah, I don't know what their total contracts are worth.
You know what that makes me question too, Ace? Is that makes me question like. I don't know the whole financial side of baseball, but isn't there like some weird thing? Like if you don't spend a certain amount of money, like you start to make money almost as an owner, right? Like,
yes.
And I always think of the Pirates, right? Like I think of teams like the Pirates or the Reds or teams that are just the Royals. Never good. Like you look at like teams like the Padres or even the Yankees offering Judge like you see Mets, the Rangers, right? It's like, all right, if those teams can do that, like if I'm a fan of those like Pirates, Reds, Royals, I'm like, why can't we do that? Why is it that year after year, like we have not made a splash in free agency? Like Reynolds for the Pirates wants $130 million contract. And I don't think they'll give it to him. I mean, when's the last time you saw the Pirates give a big contract like that?
Yeah, but listen, his deal, he won in 8 years, 150 or 130, whatever it was. Like you said, that's only like 16 million.
That's not bad at all.
No, I'm saying that's what he wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at that compared to what these big superstars are getting. I would pay Reynolds that easily.
Same. So like you go back to, I don't even know where I was going with that. Oh, so I want to say like number one, like Machado, like you said, Machado is an amazing player, and he's ranked high in his position. Every year after year, he hits a lot of home runs. He's an amazing third baseman. He can play shortstop if you need him to. He's a good leader.
Yeah. West Coast market, man.
11 years though, like I don't know if I can commit to someone for 11 years unless he's like a Nelson Cruz, where when he's 40, like he's still. The one thing though that as a player I wouldn't want, like correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the tax in San Diego like really crazy. High? Like,
yes.
Didn't we break down Tatis 300 contract?
Yes.
Like he only got like 100 million of that or something.
California's like 50, almost 50%.
Like out of that 350, like he's not even going to get nearly half that. Like
but you got to remember something. The Padres are now putting names in their roster. They're selling out games now. They're
stacked.
Team out.
You think about that team. They're stacked.
So I mean, you look at the West Coast market. Ticket sales are probably outrageous.
The owner,
they're making money.
The owner is slightly new too, which I like, or maybe is a few years. So
he's been there for a couple years now.
Yeah, he wants to build the thing is, okay, you build a winning franchise, maybe you turn into Golden State basketball. You win one. That's huge for that area.
Is it a bust? Is it a bust for the Padres if they don't make the World Series this year?
Yes.
Oh yes. Oh my God, I forgot they got Bogarts.
They got Bogarts. They got Soda.
Juan Soto.
They still have who the heck did they grab at first base?
Yeah,
they had,
okay, I'm looking.
And who the heck was? It's been a while since I watched baseball.
Josh Hader.
And they just gave Darvish
they got Hader. They gave Darvish the extension. They got Matt Carpenter from the Yankees. They still got Procore. They still have that second baseman. I start to see who was the shortstop they had.
Yeah,
yes, I love Cronenworth, but who was the shortstop they had last year that played really well, and everybody was like, "Oh snap!" Like is Tatis Jr. gonna? It might have been the Korean guy.
Kim, yeah.
Because remember they were talking about putting Tatis in left field.
Yeah, so Tatis is going to DH when he comes back from spring training. You got to think about that, right? So say Tatis even comes back and he matures from his stupidity that he had his suspension and being injured. Like that team is loaded with offense, at least.
I honestly think
where does Bauer go? Where does Bauer go here? Right? Like it's Bauer, right?
Yes,
Trevor Bauer. Like
Twins, come.
Like, could you imagine?
Nobody wants him.
Could you imagine the Padres were like, you know what? Like he's got a bad rap coming with him.
He had a fetish, maybe. They
like, could you imagine they threw him in there?
I think
nobody picked him up. Camp started right. Nobody picked him up.
I don't know why, man. Like he's still a good pitcher.
He should go pitch in that banana thing, that banana league down in South
Carolina. The Savannah Bananas. They sell out. They sell out every game. All right, moving on.
What? Seriously, before we go on to move on, do you guys think right now the Padres are better than the Dodgers in that division? I honestly think they are.
100%.
I think they are. I think the Dodgers are falling. I mean, they have the Padres ahead of them in the power standings right now.
And don't get me wrong, the Dodgers are always good, but Clayton Kershaw is obviously getting older. Some of their players are getting older. I just 100% in my opinion. And those battles between the Dodgers and the Padres the past 2 seasons have been like Sunday night football vibes. Like when you watch them, like it's like postseason baseball.
Yeah.
It's interesting what they did because they have absolute star power. The Padres now to like basically come at the
like you think 3 years ago the Padres were nobody. Like me growing up, the Padres never had star talent. They had the Upton brothers at one point. That was cool. They used to be a big.
I wanted to bring up the team contracts quick because they got to be dang near at the top.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah, they got to be at billions. I would say.
Dude, I saw the other day where franchises that spent the most money in the last few years, I think the Dodgers have 5 of those years in the top 10. The Dodgers have been spending money like crazy and only have like one World Series they count
and
for.
And I think about it like this too. Like I feel like if you're not spending money, it's like how bad do you want to win? Like if you want to win,
third highest behind the Yankees and the Mets. So we got a little East Coast, West Coast. Phillies are actually 4th, and then the Dodgers are 5th.
Thank you.
To round out the top 5 in total. This is total. If you're talking, so the opening day of the 26-man roster, the Mets easily have the highest.
Yeah.
The Mets are stacked too. That's kind of an intriguing.
One news that was in the headlines today too is Ray's starting pitcher Tyler Glass now. He was obviously battling that injury last year. I think it was in his elbow. Did he come back for a tiny bit last year? I think, but
I think he tried to.
He injured his oblique during live BP, and he's now expected to miss time. So that could be huge for the Rays. But we will dive into a little segue that I like to call what MLB teams will fall this year. Just a couple that I have here we're going to rattle off, and I want to get your guys' opinions. But we will start with the Colorado Rockies. They get Chris Bryant in free agency last year.
How can you fall when you're already at the bottom?
He doesn't. So he barely plays any of the season, right? They were... Let's see. I have it written down here. They were 68. They were 68 and 94 last year. So the over under is, will they be over or under 65.5 wins this year, or will they be over, or will they continue to fall? So their owner Dick Monfort comes out and he says that we can play at 500 baseball, like we could play at a 500 record, and which is funny. But they're projected to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. They don't got a bullpen. They don't got a rotation. And I'm going to
What is 500? Went 81 and 81.
Yeah, what is...
I don't even know, but I mean...
162 games.
I'll take them to go over 65 if that's the benchmark.
I'm going to say they're going to be under 65. They only had 68 last year.
I don't think they added anything to their team.
I don't think so actually, either. I couldn't tell you.
Okay, I'm going with you guys. I hate to teeter-totter, but honestly, I kind of agree. I think the Diamondbacks are going to stay even.
We should remember this one, and like halfway of the season, like see how close we are to it.
Here, I'll back at least here.
So next team,
who's gonna be worse, them or the Kansas City Royals? Or the Pirates?
Hey,
I think the Pirates did more. I think the Pirates did more.
Pirates. It would not shock me to see the Pirates do better this year, and the Royals have a lot of talent at prospects.
What about the A's? The A's maybe
the A's are the A's are the trash franchise of MLB baseball right now. They are trying to move, and we're not going to trash them anymore.
They want to move to Vegas.
We're going to move on.
Yeah.
Next team here, which is going to be an interesting one, is the Boston Red Sox. In 2022, they had 78 wins and 84 losses. Some big departures this year. Obviously, Xander Bogaerts, J.D. Martinez, Nathan Eovaldi, Rich Hill, and Michael Wacha. They were able to re-sign Devers for $331 million.
Big deal.
And they have Justin Turner at third base this year. They don't really have much going far as pitching.
Hot take. The Pirates have more wins than the Red Sox this year.
So the 2023 prediction here.
That's a hot take. We got to remember that, Ty.
Do you think the Red Sox will be under or over 78.5 wins?
Way under.
I think they'll be under that.
Now you think about the new schedule this year. It's more towards your
you don't play your division as much.
You don't play your division as much, right? But
because
I was going to say
big change too,
because they are in a good division with the Blue Jays, who are doing really well. But
this opens up the opportunity for teams to play teams they normally don't play.
Yeah. Oh, do the Yankees come down to Miami this year?
I don't know, but the Yankees come to Coors Field, baby.
I bet there's a home and away for each teams, mate. For every team, I don't know.
All right, so over under 78.5 wins. I'm going under.
Because that's basically saying they're 500 and they didn't improve, and so they weren't that last.
That's two unders we already picked. We no hope for these teams.
61 wins for them.
Milwaukee Brewers are the next one. Milwaukee Brewers. Last year they went 86 and 76. They have missed their fifth straight playoffs. Haven't played the playoffs in 5 years. Last year they were never more than 2 games below 500, but they lost 2 after being 10th ranked in runs per game. They trade away their 2 best hitters. They have a good 1-2 punch with pitching with Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff. Christian Yelich is still there, 2018 MVP, 2019 batting well. Ever since that, he's kind of been batting very average.
Yeah. Has there ever been a superstar who's more quiet than him? Like no one ever talks about him.
But he's been quiet though the past 2 years. He's been an average hitter. So this one is in 2023. Are they going to be over or under 85.5 wins? I'm going to go over in this one. I think them not playing their division as much maybe gives them a little help.
Are we writing these down?
I am, yeah.
Well, the first 2 were easy. We all said under.
I'm saying under.
We're gonna split.
I'm saying under 85.
Yeah, I'm gonna say under 85 too. I think they're gonna be right around 500 anyways, but they don't correct because they're gonna be playing tougher teams because their division's garbage, right? Like the Pirates aren't gonna be good. Who else? The Cubs should be better, I guess. The Cardinals will always be good in the Reds. Like,
I'm going
it
over.
actually hurts them to play more teams out of that division.
I got one more. This one's an interesting one. You guys are
Sorry,
gonna love
Milwaukee
this one.
friends. Sorry.
The last one here that I have written down, the New York Yankees. The New York Yankees went 99-63 last year. They have spent $573 million this offseason, 400 of that going to Judge and Rizzo. They have done really nothing as far as picking up any offensive help. They're relying on their prospects and kind of going with spring training here. Frankie Montes, one of our pitchers, he is getting shoulder surgery. I don't know how long he'll be out. I don't have an update for that.
He's trash anyway.
You still have Garrett Cole and Carlos Rendon that you did get. That could be a very good 1-2 punch, and hopefully Severino and Nasty Nestor help. So the prediction here is, do you have them going over or under 94.5 wins this year? They had 99 last year.
Over.
Yeah, they should. With who
I think they're
going to
have one of the best pitching staffs in baseball. I think because you still have Herman, you still have Clark Schmidt, you still have guys that are going to be taking the spots of those guys. I think these young kids. I mean, these young kids are going to turn it on. I think definitely they're going to have 98 wins.
Good hot take. I'm going to go over, but I'm going to say it's not like a high over. Like, I don't think they're going to hit 100. I would love for them to hit 100. I'm going to say like 96, maybe 97.
Full prediction: the Yankees have the best record in the AL. In the AL. I think they're pissed I think they're pissed the Astros beat them toward the end, and they're going to want to come out and prove a point this year.
I'm curious. One thing that's benefiting us this year that we're not playing our division as much is because the Orioles and the Blue Jays, like, they are improving every single year. You know, the Rays are still good. The Rays still have good young talent, but the Blue Jays, they picked up a lot this offseason. And like Vlad already looks great this spring training. He already hit a bomb. There's a lot of good.
Jason Dominguez, a 20-year-old for our team. I mean, so
they should just call him up.
Oh my!
He's up. He's up right now. He's batting 333 for them.
Up. Keep him up.
Okay. Let me just read off the first 6 starting pitchers for each team. Right. Tell me who's gonna Tell me what confidence you have. Right. Sonny Gray, Pablo Lopez. You guys probably can't even guess which team this is yet. Tyler Mahle,
Minnesota Twins.
Kenta Maeda, Joe Ryan, Bailey Ober. These are starting pitchers.
Okay. I only know one of those guys.
Eric Cole, Carlos Rodon, Nestor Cortez, Luis Severino. Should I stop? Frankie Montes. We
could give you guys Frankie Montes. He's not even going to pitch for us. We still have Herman and, like I said, Clark Schmidt and Mitchell King. We still have good pitchers.
Okay, now tell me this. Let's say hypothetically, we signed Rodon. I think Pablo Lopez, we got rid of Arise, but I thought this was favorable. He's supposed to be a really good pitcher. But now let's say we get Rodon instead of the Yankees. How much different does our team look with Rodon, Kenta Maeda?
Who wants to go to Minnesota?
Pablo Lopez, Sonny. Exactly. Like, you just can't.
It's a hard market. I feel like
you guys just had a blizzard, man. I don't think that snow's gonna be gone by April.
No, the fact that this is an outdoor stadium, like, you guys will get the wind breeze and the warmer weather, or the Yankees will, not you guys.
If you guys had like a dome that opened and closed, I think you'd attract bigger market. Bigger
I would
market.
agree.
But you got Carlos Correa back, right?
What has the ownership? Yes, signing him helps, but like, they for a while the Polids are not known as like a let's go win it franchise.
Yeah.
So it's kind of on them, sadly.
Yeah.
I still think the best pitching rotation in baseball is the Astros by far.
Oh, that's okay. Good. I was just going to bring them up quick.
I think the Yankees are close second.
Ace, by the way, growing up, the Yankees never had a good rotation. Like, we always had one or two solid guys. Like, you had Andy Pettitte, AJ Burnett, CC Sabathia. No, but like when I was growing up,
Sabathia, Burnett.
Yes. When I was growing up, let me defend myself before I get text messages. When I was growing up, though, right, with CC Sabathia or Andy Pettitte, it was always like one or two. We didn't have the best bullpen. Like, it wasn't like we had 4 starters like we do now. We have Rodon, Garrett Cole, Sevy, Nasty Nestor.
Combe, we had Wells. We had some good pitchers,
like,
man.
Remember we had Pineda and couldn't tell you who else. Pineda was one of our best. He was one of our best pitchers at the time.
Yeah, Twins took his leftovers.
Like, there was a period of time where like it was just CC for a while.
But I think the Twins let him go. I think he's with the Red Sox now. Michael Pineda.
Oh yeah, you're right. We had him for 1 or 2 years. He got suspended. We sent him to a 2-year deal. He got suspended. Dude, the 80 games. The second year.
You know what's funny about Boston? Mookie Betts just came out and said, "Yep, in 2018, by Boston, we did cheat. Yeah. We just didn't cheat." He said, "We just didn't cheat in the World Series." Shut up. Yes, you did. You don't cheat up to the World Series and not cheat.
So, okay, Lance McCullers, Framber Valdez, Jose Urquidy, Luis Garcia, Christian Javier. How do they? These guys
is a
are
good
all
rotation. Some of those guys are young too, and they are good.
And they got them locked up, man. And they got one of the best bullpens in baseball.
Houston did a great job at they got caught cheating, but they've been to the World Series how many times after that? And it's like a big smack in the face to all the baseball fans. Like, yeah, okay, we cheated, but we're still the best team in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, the only problem about Houston now is Altuve's up for a contract. Who's their third baseman? Bregman. He's up for a contract.
Bregman, that's a big name.
Tucker's up for a contract. Framber Valdez is up for a contract. They have some big names they got to fill. And Altuve, man, he's got to be old. I mean, he's been there forever. You know,
he plays great ball.
He's 32 years old, and he wants to end his career with them.
I mean, he could sign a 4-year deal.
I'm just saying they're gonna have after this year. They're gonna have some tough.
He's that kind of guy that's gonna play another 10 years.
You think so?
I think so.
He batted over 300 last year,
dude. I know they cheated.
Could.
You know what's sad is I was a huge Altuve fan, and since they cheated, that ruined his legacy. I feel like. But I looked up to him because he's a small guy. He was fast and he was always a good hitter. And you always have those kids playing baseball in high school who are small, and the coaches are like, you can't play, you're too small. And you would just watch Altuve videos, be like, if he could do it, I could do it.
Dude, after losing to them again last year, I'm over the cheating thing. They're just a good team.
I can't stand the Astros, man. I don't even care about the Boston and Yankees rivalry.
But you know what?
I can't stand Houston.
The thing is it's coming out more and more that everyone's cheating.
Yeah, correct. And honestly, longevity is kind of in their favor too. They've continued to
they're like the Chiefs. They're like the Chiefs.
Team. Yeah.
And honestly, who hasn't tried to cheat that? I mean, you think about when we played baseball growing up, when you got on second base, the first thing that I would try and do is I would try and read the catcher signs to let my batter know. That technically is cheating but it's not. It's a baseball cheating, but there's always going to be some kind of way to do it.
Remember how the catchers used to get lazy and lob the ball back to the pitcher and we would steal home?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Do you think, maybe this is a question for another day, but is getting into the Hall of Fame going to be harder moving forward? It seems like for pitchers, how do you judge whether a pitcher now gets into the Hall of Fame just based off stats alone? Maybe ERA, but
ERA, I think, and strikeouts.
Wins, strikeouts, World Series appearances.
I would also say I would also judge them on
Verlander's the lock.
I would judge them on playoff stats too, like you do for football players. Like when people judge Dak, all right, Dak's great during the season.
Youngs.
What's his playoff record? If I'm looking at a pitcher, all right, he's got a good ERA. What's his ERA like in the playoffs? Does he help his team win? Has he won World Series? Has he won any Cy Youngs?
I mean, this had me thinking, especially the last time we talked about, or I think it was the last time we talked a lot about Trout. Or maybe it wasn't, whatever the case, we got into the discussion. We
talked about Patrick Mahomes and then we talked about
Ohtani. Yeah. We got into that. And I'm like, honestly, his stats are good, but when you factor in that's completely regular season, sure, he's won MVPs and he'll be a first ballot, but it's you don't really hear a lot of him outside of the game either. He's kind of a quiet dude. He's not.
Let me ask you guys this:
he's a superstar, but you know what I mean? He's kind of underrated.
Is the Hall of Fame like the All-Star game? It just doesn't matter anymore.
It would still matter to me if I was a player. If I'm playing.
But the problem is you're a good player. It's coming down to guys who are just right about the game that don't really know the game.
Who do you remember more? Do you remember Hall of Famers more or players that were just good?
No, because there's a lot of players that were good that aren't in the Hall of Fame.
That's true.
Yeah, like Gary Sheffield. I don't know why that came to mind, but I remember that.
He's another steroid guy. You know what would be interesting? And I just thought this now, talking about the All-Star game. They should have the fastest guys that can steal bases going against the best catchers in use a pitching machine or something.
So the All-Star.
Or have a contest where the best catchers in the league have to throw to a target at second base.
They should have a skill set like they do for hockey All-Star games. That'd be cool. Baseball doesn't do that. Baseball is one of my favorite All-Star breaks. I am such a big fan for the home run derby and then the All-Star game. Because baseball, you can't just you can have fun, but it's still competitive. It's not like football where you just touch each other and you don't actually tackle.
Dude, You could have the fastest competition, guys running the bases. Who does it the fastest? You can have guys throwing balls from the outfield, seeing how close they can get to a target at home plate. They could really, really make this an interesting freaking All-Star game.
They really could. Well, we're going to transition to NFL real quick because we have a couple NFL things to discuss, and then we'll wrap this up. Big news that happened today is Carson Wentz gets cut by the Commanders, and the Commanders owner Snyder is still trying to get a couple $1 billion for his franchise that he's trying to sell, which now owners are trying to push him out. I just saw that headline on my phone. Wentz got cut, saves the team $26 million in cap. He was 2-5 as a starter. I wish it would have worked out better for him after getting released by the Colts the year before. Based off those three teams, I saw some crazy number today where it's like he signed like a base salary of like $105 million with the Eagles in 2019 and then going to the Colts, and the Commanders. Like, imagine making that much money and you haven't really done anything with your career. must be real nice. But there's
Super Bowl.
He does got a Super Bowl ring. I wanted to ask you guys, there's two teams right off the bat that they said, maybe he can go to, Raiders and Tampa. But they also said that and this is my opinion too. I think he's just gonna be a good backup for somebody. Like if someone needs a backup.
Broncos, the Cowboys, they can all use backups.
Yeah. I think that's what Baker's gonna do too. I think Baker's gonna be a backup until he can fight for a starter again.
Wasn't Wentz like the number one pick in the draft?
Mm-hmm.
That's why he made his money. So it goes to show you don't draft a quarterback in the first round.
Is this it's pretty much a foregone conclusion. He's kind of got the backup role for the rest of his career. If he wants to stay
unless he gets a spot to shine. And
who starts first, him or Baker?
Baker.
Well, that's a great question.
I think Baker having like a little tiny bit of success with the Rams at the end of the season gives Baker more hope than Carson.
Do the Texans? Who'd you say the rate?
I said the Raiders in Tampa, or
Texans,
just the backup quarterback.
Texans
came out today.
Yeah.
There's a couple of teams that came out today. There was like the Texans, the Colts, and someone else. They said, we want prospects. We don't want a veteran.
The Chicago Bears came out and said that Fields is their quarterback. Yep. They're not trading him, and that they are looking and taking calls of getting out that top pick.
They're receiving a lot of calls already.
Houston's jumping the one. Houston or the Colts are jumping.
I think it's how about this? How about Bryce Young? How about Bryce Young is slowly dropping all of a sudden because people are his height has come out and he's like officially like 5'10" or 5'11", and you have these people that are saying, if I'm a GM, I am not drafting Bryce Young.
I'm so sick of that shit.
And I'm like, what?
Number
one, I'm like, yo, if he drops him, the Saints somehow land him at number 29. Like, could you imagine that?
No, you don't want that.
I'll take that.
It's in so at the end of the day, it's in the benefit of the Bears. Even if they want to take a quarterback, drop back. Why not? You're going to get more picks.
You're still going to get like a first round draft pick anyway.
Oh my God.
Just let me ask you guys this: when was the last time a quarterback drafted in the top 3 did anything good?
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence.
Burrows.
Burrow, 100% Burrow. Yeah, Burrow went number one. Trevor Lawrence got to the playoffs.
Did Burrow go one?
Burrow went one, and Trevor Lawrence went one.
Okay, when was the last time an Ohio State quarterback did anything?
Justin Fields is the closest thing, I think.
And he's just a running quarterback.
Yeah, it's like I still can't think. I think Wentz will start over Mayfield. I never answered that, by the way.
They have the Saints linked to Baker Mayfield. I see that article every day, and I'm like, no, like I would take Baker as a backup. Just God forbid he shines one day and it's like, yeah, I'm Baker Mayfield again. But like, I just think, and I get it. Carolina was a messy situation. They didn't have that identity. I just don't think he's consistent like he was with the Browns all of a sudden. I don't think, and then that goes to say like maybe he finds his home in a team and he plays like Baker Mayfield again. But like I don't want to take that risk. And I'm not trying to get into the Saints. I'm not trying to get into the Saints, but I'm like I don't even know who I want as my quarterback anymore. Like
you want C.J. Stroud.
Like Derek Carr wants. They're saying he wants $35 million now. Like I would take Derek Carr. Let me guys ask you a real quick question. This guy's been on my mind. This guy's been on my mind real quick for some reason. And I wonder why, like, no one says he's going to even be a draft pick, is Stetson Bennett from Georgia. He has won 2 national championships. His numbers are fantastic. He's got a great, strong, accurate arm. But all they talk about is how small he is. They talk about that all he's ever had was talent around him, which, yes, the first year he won, he did. The second year he lost a lot of pieces.
He can come to Dallas.
But I was thinking like that's the kind of so I'm a big that's what ask my dad. I've been texting a lot about Hooker. I'm like I will take Hooker
because he'll fall, right? Because of the leg.
Yes, that's what they have. They have the Saints, but with Stetson Bennett, I'm like, that's the kind of guy that gets a chip on his shoulder after winning 2 national titles and thrives with some team.
CBS Sports mock draft has 4 quarterbacks going into top 8 picks. They have Bryce Young. They have Bryce Young going to the Colts. They have C.J. Stroud going 2nd to the Texans. They have Anthony Richardson going 7th to the Raiders, and then they have that Will Levis guys going to Tampa Bay. That would be crazy though. Why would Tampa Bay draft the quarterback when they just drafted one a couple years ago?
I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they said that Tampa Bay wants to roll with that guy they have.
Yeah,
so they'll sign a veteran. That points to like signing a veteran, unless
and Jimmy G. Like they keep saying the best spot for Jimmy G is. We'll talk about this in a second. That Will Levis guy though, everyone's comparing him to every year. You get close to the draft, and you have these 2 quarterbacks that they love. You have C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young, and out of the blue, right before the draft starts, you have a random quarterback that comes up. Like you had a Carson Wentz, you had a Sam Darnold, and now you had a Zach Wilson, and now you have a Will Levis. Every year it happens. Anthony Richardson, I would love to take, but I like Hooker. I like his style. But
since you guys are talking about your teams a little bit, CBS Sports has the Minnesota Vikings taking Calais Ringo from Georgia, sophomore cornerback. They have the Cowboys taking Jalen Hyatt, Tennessee receiver, and then they have this is stupid. They have the Saints taking Cam Smith from South Carolina, a cornerback.
That can't be real because every mock draft I've seen has us taking an edge.
I've seen mock drafts where they have you guys taking a running back because they have no idea what's going on with your receiver and your running back.
I say cut Kamara. Since we're talking about the college a little bit, I want to ask you guys the question because potentially the number 1 overall pick, Jalen Carter from Georgia, he's choosing not to do the combine and do his pro day, but he is going to the combine to do interviews. I feel like you're seeing more guys participate in this, and I wanted to ask you guys, if you were a college athlete, what would you do here? Would you feel more comfortable doing your pro day at your home stadium where you feel a little bit more comfortable and just going and doing your interviews, or would you participate in both or just a combine? Like, I'm curious what you guys think about that. I mean, I think if I was a college athlete, I'd feel more comfortable just do my pro day. I think you've seen a lot of people do that in the past couple of years. You're comfortable with the facility, the coaches, the assistants. You don't got to worry about all these people watching you.
Yeah. It depends too, like how good you are and how good people think you're going to go in the draft also. Cause like maybe some of the quarterbacks don't need to throw if they're going top 5 anyways, or linebacker or offensive lineman doesn't. I don't know. It kind of depends. It's turned into like the bowl games for the teams where they don't, or the players. So
yeah,
I would like to see them, but I also don't really like there's enough pro days. I think the pro day is probably kind of what you were saying, Ty, is more hyped up for them anyways, because they're in the facility, that
their own wide receivers
too.
Yeah, with their own coaches.
Yep,
it's so comfy. It's normal. Comfy.
Yep.
I remember when the combine was huge. Like I always tuned in for the 40-yard dash. That was amazing. Yeah. You wanted to see that.
I feel like it's just special now.
It's not important anymore. It really isn't. With today's technology and the advancement of things that are going, you can do everything from your own comfort of your own field. And I just think that these kids are all hyped up. They know all these kids know they're going to get drafted. It's just a matter of where. Mm-hmm. So they don't got to waste the time and the resources going to Indianapolis and run around in your underwear and
hoping your balls don't fall out.
Yeah, and being pricked in Prague. Remember that guy we had on, Ty? He sat on a table in his underwear and didn't know what team was coming in to interview him.
Yeah, who was that?
What? Like a medical team, like a doctor?
Yeah, they check you all over the place.
He said it's worse than being in the military. You walk in and you're in a pair of boxers or like shorts, and they're checking your medicals. Yeah, remember because he said the Saints came in and they were asking him all those. It wasn't
Monte Teo. It wasn't Monte Teo. It was I think it was an offensive lineman we had on.
Yeah, and they asked him all these questions, and then before they walked out, they said, "What was the very first question we asked you?" About 30 minutes later, and he had to remember exactly what they asked him.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. That's stressful. Last thing I want to ask you guys, I think I have here about football is the XFL started. And one thing that there's a lot of owners and teams and professional guys, whatever, that are meeting about rule changes. And one thing that they brought up that they seen from the XFL is that they love the whole 4th and 15, one play conversion for an onside kick. All right, let me read you a stat here. 2022, 3 out of 56 onside kicks were recovered for 5.3%. It's like nearly impossible to get an onside kick anymore. The kicker has to kick the ball perfectly. It has to be placed perfectly. You got to get the best bounce you can get. The 4th and 15 has only been successful one time so far in the XFL, and it's amazing.
It's a good winner.
And I do agree that I think something needs to change to give your team the better chance to have a comeback. Because I feel like the onside kick, like it is like as soon as you're done, it's over. Like there's no comeback from that. Like I am curious what you guys think of it. Do you guys think it could be something that could be successful in the NFL? Or would you like to see it in the NFL? I would like to see it in the NFL.
So they can elect to do one of the, I like
you
that.
can still elect to do the onside kick. I think is what they're trying to do, but you have the option to do the 4th and 15, one play to try and convert.
I like
love
that
it.
Much better.
I love it. And I love the fact that they have 3 options too after a touchdown. Like they can go for a 1 point, a 2 point, or a 3 point conversion. I love the fact that their kickoffs are only 5 or 10 yards apart, that they actually kick the ball so it's returned and there's no collisions because the lines are so close to each other. I think the NFL should do this, a 35-second play clock. Do they kick
from the 35? Not to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, let me see right here. Traditional kickoffs.
Yeah, still, but they just bring the guys 5 yards closer.
Yes.
I like that better.
Oh, and the kickoffs, like you can't run until the guy catches the ball.
Oh, interesting.
Like I think the defense, the kickers and like the kick and the returners, like they stand next to each other. Like it's pretty close, but they can't start running until like the guy catches the ball.
Yeah, I love these. And to be honest, it's not like the NFL can't do this. They just wanted, the XFL or a legitimate kind of a G League or a legitimate professional team underneath them to test crap out now. It seems like.
Yeah.
Or do they still have the officials wearing the headset to like get the call rights? Or how does it work? They go up to the head. They got the guy, like the review team is at the stadium or something like that.
I love it. I love the fact too that the clock stops too. Like under 2 minutes, the clock stops so they can set the ball. I love that.
Just like college. That's a great rule. I don't know why they haven't adapted to that rule.
The only thing that's different is the clock will start.
70-year-olds running down the field.
I know, like.
The only thing different is the clock will start following an incomplete pass and out of bound plays prior to the 2-minute warning. So it keeps the game going. But I love it. I love it. I love everything about it.
Don't you think the Bills with these rules, I think a Bills Chiefs game, knowing that you could, instead of onside kicking it, go for it 4th and 5th, I think one of the teams would have won. Or like, well, of course a team won, but you wouldn't have these weird overtime rules probably. Somebody would have gotten a 4th and 15, or they throw an interception. You know what I mean? Like it's so different.
So different.
And you know what's interesting too? The only thing I don't like about the XFL, I don't like the whole, you can hear everything. They're all mic'd up and stuff. Yeah. I don't like them interviewing the coach on the sideline. I just think that's a little tacky. But the NFL is going to now, they're talking about replaying personal foul, roughing the passer plays, which I think is amazing. They should do that. I think they should. They should allow these coaches to review them.
I agree. Did you see the whole like AJ McCarron headlines that have been going on?
I was just going to bring that up.
He said that being a backup in the NFL, it's an amazing job, and I've loved every minute of it. But he goes like, I've missed playing, and I have kids that are 6 years old, 6 and whatever they are. He goes, and they just watch highlights of my college career. He goes, so it's amazing for me to start, and they get to watch me. And he's 2-0 right now. The Rock retweeted this whole like video that they made for him. It's amazing like to see how happy he was. He's playing great. Because I also just saw a video on Chad Ochocinco. Like he talked about like he went to the Canada Football League. He goes, you think about how many guys play in NFL? He goes, I went to Canada Football League thinking that it was gonna be a joke, and these guys are so good. I'm like, how are you not in the NFL? And it's like because it's a numbers game. There's only so many guys that you can have on the NFL roster. So that's why I love seeing these XFL leagues. And you get to see talent. It's there needs to be some other league. That way, like the Saints need a quarterback or someone needs a quarterback. And like, hey, like let's bring that guy for like just camp and see if he can even handle with us.
He's
Martavius. Yeah, and Martavius Bryant, who was a big name receiver for Pittsburgh's down there.
Yeah.
There are big names there. And you're going to start seeing quarterbacks that don't get drafted that are good quarterbacks in college are going to end up in a league like this. It's going to turn into a minor league system, whether they like it or not. It's going to, because you have the USFL coming too.
That's good.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah.
Oh,
Last thing
yes.
I wanted to share with you guys is this Byron Jones thing. I found the quote. He randomly came out the other day, and everyone is like, "Oh my gosh, is he going to retire from the Dolphins?" He came out and tweeted. He said, "Much has changed in 8 years. Today, I can barely run or even jump because of my injury sustained playing this game." He goes, "Do not take the pills they give you. Do not take the injections they give you. If you absolutely must, consult an outside doctor. Learn the long-term implications." And this is where everyone is coming out and saying, get as much of the guaranteed money that you can, because you just don't realize how much of these injuries can affect your body.
I don't know how to
Interesting
take
stuff,
that.
man. Interesting stuff.
I don't know where to go with that. That's
Michael Thomas said something similar. Michael
he did.
Thomas,
He said that was it the Saints medical staff or the NFL medical staff is uneducated.
He responded about Chris Margot, who was rewarded $43 million in a lawsuit against doctors over his career-ending injury. He said it was the right decision. Michael Thomas said this is the right decision. The NFL medicals suck. Cheap and uneducated. Their job requires barely any education or curriculum. He also added, well, at least at some of the places I know, before he actually deleted all these tweets.
But how real is it? How many times on this podcast have we talked about like you think about the